Sunday morning service, let's call this, or not. Anyway, been some interesting discussions this morning already online. And I have to say that there's one common theme, and that is the body. I read a phrase this morning from one of my colleagues in TRE world. TRE is a healing modality for those of you who don't know. And I was trained in that modality 2013 to 2015. And powerful, absolutely powerful tool for healing trauma, for healing physiology, for healing the psyche. And one of the phrase was a receiving body. And I have taught for some time that the receiving body, I would have phrased that as the body needs to feel safe to heal. And so as we start, in my jargon, tremoring as a healing modality, sitting with a provider and or via, because we can do this via video. One of the things that I've learned is that it takes a little bit of time. So initially, the client might have a little bit of trepidation, maybe some hesitation, and they'll go through the motions and they'll learn how to tremor, and the novelty might strike them, and or make them laugh, whatever. But the idea is because my programs is generally pretty long compared to most, a year. The idea is to start to feel in the body, start to come back into the body. And if you don't think about trauma, that's not easy. That's one of the harder parts, especially when people don't trust their bodies. And so what I like about this phrase, and a receiving body, because in one conversation, I was just discussing this whole safety thing, which I've discovered with most clients can take upwards of 3 to 4 months of weekly sessions to really start getting to that place where the momentum of healing is enough to start incorporating some pretty solid change. Yeah, it can take that long. I've known people who did all the exercises that they were taught, my teacher, and one little spot on their thigh started to tremor after 3 months, just one little spot. There's a lot of no trust there, I'll say. So to have this receiving body can take time. Now think about it in terms of receiving a lot of money. Let's say, and this is, so this other conversation I was having was about affirmations, affirmations, and declarations around. And so, a lot of affirmations are around getting things, I already own, whatever. You're trying to make a statement, which ends up feeling like a lie. And it's not necessarily that it is, but it is, because you don't have a receiving body or a mindset into which that could be poured. And a receiving body is really, really important when it comes to being an embodied being who can do, be, and have things. Yeah, that has to be there. And so this whole receiving body, and another conversation was around consent. Of late, I've been taken to saying my kink is consent, just because it seems like the lack of consent is all the norm. And ooh, no, that's not good. That is not good. That is creating all kinds of bodies that are not receiving at all. And coming to that place of consent is coming to that place of helping create within the sexual realm a receiving body. And that is for both genders. If both genders can't do that, you do not have a receiving relationship. Yeah. Speaking to you males, I won't call you men. There's too many of us who, and I was that way for 60 years. I know whereof I speak. It's time to change. We just have to change. And then on another discussion was about the concept of the body keeps the score relative to trauma, relative to the work that I do, showing others. I mean, I fell into that abyss a lot, years ago, and I was shown the way out. Thank you, everybody. And when I got out, I realized that the process had embodied me. And so a lot of my discussion, and I thought about yesterday about the stuff I do with my free weights and stuff like that, which are sitting right over there actually. And really, it's kettlebells, but I bought some of those little pink 2 pounders because that's the place where you need to start. But you are getting back into your body rather than thinking that it is separate from me. That's Cartesian medicine. That's why our disease management system exists in the U.S. It is why a lot of problems exist in human beings because we are very, very thinking for some, I think, therefore I am. It's all in the brain, it's all in this. And this discussion I was having was relative to the idea that the body does not keep the score of trauma when in fact it does. This didn't get me into my trauma. And I got to think that it's not that this wasn't involved. My emotions might have been involved, but somebody did something to my body. When I look at, so let's take the ACE test, for example, as an assessment tool. Um, it created at least the feeling of not being safe, a threat, a feeling of being threatened. And that is going to set off your stress response. That's what that's for. That's what your stress response is for. It responds to threat. Okay. Some of the other ACE test questions are really quite physical. Did somebody test you sexually in a way that you did not want or did not ask for? So back to consent. Did somebody hit you? Who is asking to be hit? So there's at least those two questions within that in which we see an embodied, and victims will often not trust their own body because they say, my body let me down. No, your body kept you alive. And they don't understand how that process works within the body. I get that. Yeah, you were hit. You didn't ask for that. You were tortured, burned. There's any number of things. You were abused. But that is a here thing. It's an embodied thing, sadly so. So coming back into a body that can receive the opposite is quite difficult. And then there's a few detractors these days, and Steve Porges has put up with this nonsense for years. But they're countering the body doesn't keep the score, the brain does. Now, this isn't from anybody who's a theoretical or not a clinical person. They don't work with bodies. They don't work with their own body, I bet. It's theoretical people. And so I don't, fine. I'll keep my opinions to myself. But here we see a real disconnect between this and this. This is only part of this. This, the brain, is part of the body. It's not separate from it. One could argue that the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the intuitions, the insight, all of that kind of stuff, all of those things that we might consider spirit or soul, they are not separate from this. It's all in one package. And all the stuff I put in here, coffee, water. Do I have anything else up here? Medications, all the rest of that affects all of me. So does the stress response. It affects all of me. TRE, tremoring, that affects all of me. It will change all of me. And all of me is right here, embodied. So be nice to your body. That's where it all starts. Have a receiving body, because the way I look at that, even if I want to receive an abundance of love, and I do, I like love. In fact, I want that to be my legacy more than my business, more than being a billionaire, more than anything like that. That is the legacy I want. But that means a lot of things. I have to be able to receive, going back to the Betty White teachings, The Wheel of Consent, buy the book, absorb it. Excellent book. Learn how to give, learn how to receive. And there's a quadrant for that. That's why they're fascinating. Because I can take for me, I can give for somebody else. It's an interesting quadrant. You're doing two things, giving for yourself, giving for somebody else, taking for myself, and taking for somebody else. I think that's how that works. But that's all. And once you work consent into that, oh man, changes everything. And love is a phenomenal thing. It's validating. So your service, your Sunday service this morning is just be in your body. Be kind to your body. Listen to your body. And if you're having issues with that, find somebody who can help you. Because I lived for a long, long time disconnected from my body. And there are moments, just moments, I just had one, in case you didn't notice, where I regret that I spent so many years chained by trauma, that I did not ever have the integration that I have now. Okay. Well, on the other hand, it sure is fun living this way. When I say fun, I mean that in the sense that, yeah, when I go for out and I get to have a creme brulee for dessert, oh man, oh, we got some people around here that can make some phenomenal ones, and we've had some treats in and around our area that are just like, oh my god. And sometimes my very significant other, when she cooks, wow. Oh, gustatory delight. And yeah, that's all part of this whole body thing. So there's an interesting experience here. And so it's not just the creme brulees, but being fully present in my own body means I get to be fully present for others in their bodies. That's why I like I can do a long, nice hug with Claire, because Claire understands what happens when a hug reaches the 20-second mark. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Try that sometime. None of this stuff. Grab that person and hold them until your breathing starts to synchronize. You'll feel it. It is marvelous. It is marvelous. And you know how many people I know can do that? Two, and one lives in, I think she's in Mexico. In any event, it's those kind of moments, being there for her. She's there for me. I can't tell you what that feels like. Anyway, I wish for you this day that you develop a receiving body. If you need help with that, hey, join the conversation. I don't know where you leave comments here, or if you can, whatever. Let's have that conversation. Let's begin it, because it is even after X number of years of being traumatized. I didn't start healing till I was 58. Guess what? The experience of healing is worth the moments that I live now, because my moments fill up my whole day. Yeah. I'm sitting here warm. I'm sitting here with a roof over my head. In 2012, I was homeless. How do you like that? Um, I got a drum kit there, so it's cool that, the sounds, the sights, the green tree outside my window, which in a few months, I say that now, yeah, will turn red. Red! It's awesome. Yeah, it's worth it. It is worth it. Anyway, bless your day. Talk to you later. It's this whole new screen here. Bye.